Hey everyone, welcome to Manhwa Mantra. I'm super grateful that so many of you are watching my videos, but did you know that most of you haven't subscribed yet? If you enjoy the content I'm sharing, please hit that subscribe button and help me reach 1,000 subscribers. Once I hit that goal, I'll be able to monetize my channel, which means I can spend more time creating videos just for you. So, if you love manhwa and want more content, don't forget to subscribe and support the channel. Thanks a lot, and let's grow together. In the previous chapter, we saw Zhuo Fan trapped in an unbreakable cave, desperately trying to escape a relentless, homing sword. His divine eye of the void's void annihilation failed to damage the sacred stones, leaving him cornered as the sword closed in once again. Let's begin the next chapter. Zhuo Fan felt a chill run down his spine, his scalp tingling with fear. The longsword loomed above him, so close that he could feel the sharp edge pressing against his fate. Void annihilation had already fizzled out, and there was no time, no space to employ shift. His options had run dry. Death, it seemed, was inevitable. But then, a single thought sparked in his mind, a desperate gamble. He could try using the remnants of void annihilation to deflect the blade. It was slim, almost foolish, but it was all he had. Like that's ever going to work, Zhuo Fan muttered under his breath, his heart racing. His mind churned with doubt. Void annihilation, no matter its power, couldn't hold a candle to his Qilin arm. If the arm had been pierced by the sword's energy, how could a mere skill stand against the longsword's unbridled might? And yet, facing the blade that hung between him and oblivion, Zhuo Fan clenched his teeth. Desperation coursed through him as he steeled his resolve. "If I'm going down, I'll go down fighting," he thought grimly. With a flash of golden light, his right eye ignited with energy. "Divine Eye of the Void's second stage, Void Annihilation!" he roared. A ripple of spatial energy erupted from his eye, hurtling toward the oncoming blade. The collision was fierce, ringing with the sharp clang of metal. To Zhuo Fan's astonishment, the longsword recoiled, spinning through the air before embedding itself in the stone wall. Zhuo Fan froze, staring at his heavily bleeding right arm. His expression was one of disbelief. He extended his hand, smashing a nearby section of the wall in frustration, sending sacred stone shards scattering to the floor. "This doesn't make sense," he muttered, his mind racing. "The Qilin arm is far stronger than Void Annihilation. How could Void Annihilation succeed where the arm failed?" But before he could process this mystery, a low cracking noise caught his attention. His eyes darted to the long sword lodged in the wall. It began to twist, almost as if alive, wriggling free from the stone. With a menacing hum, it launched itself at him once more, its energy more ferocious than before. Zhuo Fan's eyes narrowed. This time he didn't hesitate. "Void Annihilation!" he bellowed. The ripple struck the sword again, spinning it away in midair. Zhuo Fan's frown deepened as he watched it retreat. "Why?" he murmured, his voice laced with curiosity. "Why does Void Annihilation work, but the Qilin arm doesn't?" The question nagged at him, refusing to leave his mind. Then, like a sudden flash of lightning, a theory emerged. Could it be that they're natural opposites? He wondered aloud, his mind beginning to piece the puzzle together. Zhuo Fan's eyes lit up as another thought struck him. If Void Annihilation works, what about the other stages of the Divine Eye of the Void? His musings were interrupted as the long sword returned, its aura now more savage and relentless. Yet Zhuo Fan didn't panic. His demeanor shifted, calm and calculated, like a predator waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As the sword closed in, now within 100 meters, his right eye flared with golden energy 4 times. "Divine Eye of the Void's 4th stage, Space Crusher!" The cave quaked violently. Sacred stones tumbled from the walls, the very air rippling with destructive force. Yet despite the chaotic tremors, the longsword froze in place. It trembled, unable to move any closer. A smirk played across Zhuo Fan's lips. As I thought, the divine eye of the void can suppress a sacred weapon. His confidence grew as he activated another ability, his right eye releasing 3 golden halos. Divine Eye of the Void's 3rd stage mirage world. The cave fell into an eerie silence. The longsword, now shrouded in invisible fluctuations, spun erratically in place, disoriented and powerless. Zhuo Fan's gaze turned cold, his voice sharp. You dare defy me? You even tried to kill me. That leaves me no choice. He understood the truth of sacred weapons. They had spirits, consciousness, and wills of their own. This sword was no different. If he wanted to wield it, he would have to subdue it completely, even if it meant destroying its spirit. With a flick of his wrist, a red glow burst from his body and entered the sword. His hands moved rapidly, forming intricate signs as he chanted, "Demon transformation art, turn the sword into one's own body. Renew the sword spirit!" Black tendrils of energy enveloped the longsword. A sinister laugh echoed, the unmistakable voice of Blood Infant. From within the blade came a cry, a sound of fear and desperation. The original sword spirit, trapped within Zhuo Fan's mirage world, was utterly helpless. Under the combined power of the demon transformation art and void annihilation, the sword spirit began to unravel. Its essence was consumed, becoming nourishment for the new spirit Zhuo Fan introduced. The longsword underwent a startling transformation. Its once pristine blade turned black as night, crimson streaks spreading like veins across its surface. A dark, malevolent aura radiated from it. Zhuo Fan deactivated Mirage World and reached out. The transformed sword flew obediently into his hand. He examined it with satisfaction. "The world has lost a 6th grade sacred weapon," he said, his voice filled with pride. "But it has gained a 6th grade sacred demonic sword. From now on, you are the Blood Infant Spirit, the strongest sacred demonic sword in the sacred domain." The sword trembled in acknowledgement before slipping from his grasp. It spiraled in the air, and with a flash of light, Blood Infant emerged. The childlike figure hovered briefly before vanishing back into Zhuo Fan's body. A chuckle escaped Zhuo Fan's lips. "So that's what you're saying? Even if I can't wield the sword fully, you're still part of me?" He shook his head, amusement flickering in his eyes. "You've always been with me, little guy. You're far better than any sword spirit." Summoning a handful of sacred stones, Zhuo Fan pressed them against his abdomen. "Here, take these. Eat up and grow stronger." The stones vanished, absorbed by Blood Infant. Zhuo Fan laughed, but then his gaze fell on the scattered stones littering the cave floor. He smacked his forehead. "Why am I wasting my own stash when there's a treasure trove right here? I must be losing it." Bending down, he began gathering the stones. But his movement halted as he glanced at his bleeding Qilin arm. His expression darkened. Activating Returning Dragon's Roar, he tried to heal it, but the wound remained stubbornly open. "Is it because the Qilin arm can't heal, or is it the nature of a sacred weapon's injury?" he muttered. This was the first time his Qilin arm had been injured, and he had no answers. Sighing, he wrapped the wound tightly and concealed it beneath his sleeve. Turning deeper into the cave, he muttered, "This sword is a fine prize, but I need answers about this array." Reaching the end of the tunnel, Zhuo Fan placed a hand on the smooth wall. Runes glimmered faintly, forming an intricate barrier. His eyes widened in awe. This is no ordinary array," he murmured, his tone reverent. "It's flawless, ingenious. It's just like the one in Lightning Canyon that trapped the soaring Qilin. Could it be the same expert created this?" His thoughts swirled with possibilities, each more unnerving than the last. If this was the mark of a sovereign-level master, what secrets did it guard? Even with the 9 Serenity's secret records, Zhuo Fan knew breaking this array was impossible in his current state. Frustration flared in his chest, but he tamped it down. For now, he muttered, this mystery will have to wait. Tracing his fingers over the wall, Zhuo Fan was lost in thought. His mind raced with possibilities, theories, and strategies. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open, glowing with a fierce brilliance as two golden halos appeared within them. Divine Eye of the Void's second stage, Void Annihilation, he declared with unwavering determination. The power of the void surged, and a loud bam echoed as it collided with the wall. Dust settled quickly, and the area grew silent. The barrier, unshaken, stood firm against the assault. It flickered briefly, almost mockingly, as if to taunt Zhuo Fan for his futile attempt. He sighed deeply. This array is ridiculously strong, he muttered to himself. Not even void annihilation, a technique specifically designed to break through arrays, can scratch it. He stared at the immovable barrier with a mixture of frustration and resignation. The truth was clear. His current strength was no match for it. To this array, he was nothing more than an insignificant ant. I'll have to wait, he admitted reluctantly, until I surpass the mortal domain. Only then will I stand a chance. Accepting this bitter reality, Zhuo Fan turned away, ready to leave. But before departing, he decided to tidy up the area. The place was far too messy for his liking. With a calculated approach, he began stripping the walls of all their sacred stones. Using his shift technique to move around swiftly, he dodged the hundreds of monitoring arrays scattered across the mountain. One by one, the stones vanished into his possession. By the time he was done, the once majestic cave had been reduced to a barren, dark void, as though a relentless thief had ravaged it. Had the exalted double dragons been present, they would have been furious beyond words. Those sacred stones were worth 10 times the rewards given at the double dragon gathering. A treasure that had taken 1,000 years to form, now stolen in mere moments. May you rot in hell, Zhuo Fan. He imagined them cursing him if they ever found out. Thankfully, they were none the wiser. However, Zhuo Fan couldn't shake off a lingering concern. His right arm, the same arm that had unleashed void annihilation, was injured. It was a rare occurrence. In his countless battles, no one had ever managed to wound that arm. And now the sudden injury would undoubtedly draw attention if noticed by the exalted elders. That'll be bad for sure, he mused, frowning as he examined the wound. He held his arm protectively and began pondering a solution. An hour later, Zhuo Fan reappeared in the valley, only to be greeted by a gruesome sight. The once lush landscape, filled with natural beauty, was now drenched in flowing blood. The air was heavy with the metallic stench, and the agonized wails of the dying blended with haunting laughter. The scene was grotesque, a chaotic masterpiece brought to life. A sudden bang broke the macabre rhythm. "Don't hit me, please! I give! Just let me go!" a voice cried out in desperation. "Damn you!" another voice snarled in response. "Now you know when to surrender? Where was this humility before? What happened to your arrogance? Your cockiness yesterday? Hey! If I don't beat you into the ground, then I'm no disciple of the demon scheming sect." The sadistic laughter echoed through the valley. Zhuo Fan scanned the scene and quickly identified the source of the commotion. A group of disciples was mercilessly pummeling a man lying on the ground. The victim was none other than Ren Kong, reduced to a trembling mess. Meanwhile, Guihu, Qilang, and the others were taking turns raining punches and kicks on him, their eyes alight with a mix of anger and twisted joy. Off to the side, Yue and the other girls stood watching. Their expressions were cold and filled with disdain. When they noticed Zhuo Fan approaching, they straightened up and bowed respectfully. "Steward Zhuo, welcome back," Yue greeted him. "Did you get him?" Zhuo Fan asked casually, nodding toward Ren Kong. The girls exchanged glances and nodded before Bai Lian stepped forward to report. "Steward Zhuo, We've killed all the heaven-trailing sect disciples, except for Ren Kong. Due to his status, we couldn't kill him outright. Instead, we captured him, sealed his cultivation, and left him to the others to deal with. Zhuo Fan nodded in approval. As you should. Killing him would only provoke the heaven-trailing sect into desperate retaliation. But humiliating him, that's another matter. Since he enjoyed flaunting his arrogance yesterday, let's teach him what true humiliation looks like. Then, he turned to the girls with a sly grin. By the way, why aren't you joining in on the fun? Don't tell me you're too reserved for this? The three girls blushed and looked away, their silence speaking volumes. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. This isn't like you at all, especially you, Yue Ling. Back when you ran the labor office, you were far from shy. Why so hesitant now? Yue Ling's face turned redder as she stammered. Steward Zhuo, it's better if you see for yourself. Curiosity piqued. Zhuo Fan strode toward the crowd. Make way, brothers. Let me have a turn. Steward Zhuo is back, Kui Lang exclaimed, his face lighting up. Clear the way. Let him through. The group parted immediately, their smiles wide and eager. Zhuo Fan stepped forward, only to stop short at the sight before him. Ren Kong was curled up on the ground, covered in bruises and blood. He twitched with every labored breath, his body trembling. Worse yet, he was completely naked, and a pool of blood had formed beneath him. Zhuo Fan's expression twisted into one of disbelief. He turned to the group with a wry smile. You lot really took it too far this time, stripping him naked in front of everyone. Do you have any idea how much shame this will bring him? He might never leave his room again? Kui Lang chuckled unapologetically. That's the idea, Steward Zhuo. We're making sure he won't even dare to step out of his sect. He pointed to a bloody trail leading away from Ren Kong, his grin widening. Look over there. Zhuo Fan followed the trail with his eyes, only to let out a sigh. You've got some unique tastes, I'll give you that. But next time, don't talk to me. I don't associate with sickos. The girls, still watching from afar, covered their ears in embarrassment. Kui Lang's face twitched. Steward Zhuo, it's not like that. We were just following your orders to teach him a lesson. So we used a club. He held up a bloodied wooden stick as proof. Zhuo Fan recoiled in disgust, stepping back. Put that thing away, you filthy animals! Ren Kong whimpered pitifully, his cries growing louder. Zhuo Fan shook his head, a hint of sympathy flickering in his eyes. He then turned back to Kui Lang and the others. You've gone too far. Ever heard of death before dishonor? This is just cruel. The group looked at him in confusion. Ren Kong, meanwhile, lifted his tear-streaked face, daring to hope that Zhuo Fan might be his savior. That hope was short-lived. You could have just gone for his soul instead of his flesh, Zhuo Fan continued, his tone pragmatic. Soul torture is far more refined and doesn't leave such a mess. Ren Kong's face fell. I should have known. All demons are the same. The others burst into laughter, their admiration for Zhuo Fan growing. That's our steward Zhuo, Kui Lang declared, always finding the most effective methods. Rest assured we'll make him pay properly this time. Zhuo Fan sighed inwardly. This wasn't exactly what he'd intended when he told them to take their time. Still, the result wasn't half bad. Looking at Ren Kong's trembling form, he could already see the deep psychological scars forming. He's finished, Zhuo Fan thought. But then again, he brought this on himself. His gaze shifted to his injured right arm, his mind already moving on to the next challenge.